Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news this match day morning as we play Spurs tonight. But it was Ruben Amorim speaking last night with more quotes coming out. And can I just say from the start, we're playing Spurs tonight. I think the entirety of that interview felt like it was 90% about Marcus Rashford. I don't think there was a question about Spurs. He did speak about Garnacho. He did give an update on Mason Mount as well. But we'll start off with the Marcus Rashford comments because I tell you what, it ain't looking good really, is it? I mean, frustration 100%, and there's no room for manoeuvrability. I mean, look, what I would say out from the outset is, obviously I think over the last 48 hours, we've seen some incredible comments on social media, both ways, let's be fair, but you know, Rashford fans sending death threats and being vile, people who want Rashford out saying get rid of him, good riddance. So we've seen quite a lot, but the thing that an intelligent person would figure out is that the Rashford in brigade can't make him stay and the Rashford out brigade can't make him go. The person that has changed the momentum at Manchester United around Rashford, and I presume other things as well, is Ruben Amorim. And that's the idiocy of the modern day, isn't it? Is that people don't actually figure out cause and consequence. The reason that we haven't got a manager sat there when Rashford's playing badly saying, he's a good player, good player, score goals, yeah, yeah. One day he scores goals, yeah. 2 years ago scored goals, yeah. He plays tomorrow. Yeah? Ahmad on the bench, yeah. You know, the reason we haven't got that anymore is because we've got a manager that's come in and gone, this football club's absolutely terrible. It's been absolutely terrible for ages. And I'm going to look at the reasons it is terrible before I start buying players. And I'm going to start punishing those players that aren't performing. Punishes 2 players that aren't performing. One of them does an interview saying, I want to leave. So sometimes you don't even need to bring emotion into it. Manager drops underperforming players. One comes back and trains really hard. One does an interview behind his back and says he wants to leave. There's cause and consequence, isn't there? But let's not mess around here. You might be upset Rashford's going. You might want to, you know, send abuse to people, but it's Amorim who's decided it. No one else. Absolutely nobody else. Shawnick says, I love Amorim's aura in presses and how he handles media and connects with the fans through press conferences. He's similar to Rangnick, but knows where to draw the line, says Shawnick. Jar, thank you very much. Welcome to the members club as well as United Nick. You're a legend. Kuz says, I hope the roof is sorted. I'll talk about that as well. Good to see you didn't fall off the roof. Hope everything turned out okay. I'll speak about that in a moment, yeah. But let's get into Amorim's comments because there are some new ones. So this is what he had to say. He does speak about Mason Mount, does speak about a few things, but this is what he said. He was asked a direct question. So this has come in from the embargoed section of his press conference. So it came out, quotes came out about 10:30 last night, as is normal for Manchester United. They always split the manager's press conference. I don't know whether other clubs do this or it's just Man United, by the way, but 10:30 the night before a game, you get another half of the interview. So it came out last night. This is what he was asked about Marcus Rashford's interview. He said, look, it's a hard situation to comment on. This is a direct quote from Amorim. It's a hard situation to comment on. If I gave a lot of importance to it, the interview, it will have big headlines in the papers. And if I say it's not a problem, then my standards are getting low. So I will deal with it. I understand that. So what he's basically saying is, if I speak in this press conference about this interview that Rashford did and how I'm disappointed with it, frustrated with it, and it's out of order, then you get your big headlines. However, if I sit here and say I'm not bothered about it, it's not a problem, then my standards drop because I'm saying that that's acceptable. However, I will deal with it. Understand that. So basically what he's saying is, look, you're not getting the headline out of me. You're not getting me go, I think Rashford's a prat for doing that, and he's let himself down, he's let me down, and he's let the club down. Amorim may well think that, but he's not going to say it because he's not going to give the headline. On the other hand, he's also not going to say, I haven't got a problem with it, it's absolutely fine, which is maybe what the previous manager might have done. So he's going to deal with it, and he's very, very clearly not happy with it, but he's not going to give this press the opportunity to get the headlines. He said, look, my focus is not, my focus is to not take the attention away from the game and the team and what we did in the last game. What I'm saying is that the team is more important than the individual. We will assess it at the right time, that's all. And I personally think this is a hint as to why Rashford's not involved. I think Amorim's not happy with the interview. But he had to train the team yesterday, and I think he basically has said to Rashford, look, we'll deal with this. We'll deal with this, but I've got a game against Spurs, so you're not playing in it because we need to deal with this issue. And we will speak at some point. But at the moment, I'm focusing on Spurs. I'm focusing on Bournemouth, and I'm still focusing on Man City because that was a brilliant team performance. So I think that's what's happened there. I think that's why he's not going to Spurs. I think Amorim's not happy with the interview, hasn't got the time to deal with it, and he's basically saying, I'm really happy with my team against Man City. You weren't part of it. I don't need you for Spurs. We'll talk about this in the future. I'm focusing on Spurs. And I think that's what he's saying, because he's absolutely spot on. The focus has been taken away from the game and the team and what they did in the last game. 100%. Same as the way the focus got took away from the FA Cup final, where we played really well. Who talks about the FA Cup final and how well we played, by the way? They don't, because you got Lineker and Shearer bullying Ten Hag about his job afterwards. You got Ineos, going on a world tour, seeing if they can find anything better. We don't really, and Amorim's right, we need to focus on it. He was asked about what he's going to do. He said it's hard to explain what he's going to do about Marcus Rashford. His funny thing is, he said he didn't really want to talk about it, but he does give a couple of quite big Easter eggs away, actually, because he says he's asked about what he's going to do with Rashford, and he said it's hard to explain to you guys what I'm going to do. I'm a little bit emotional, so in the moment I will decide what to do. So clearly he is emotional about it. I think his plan was to bring Rashford and Garnacho back for this game. I said that on Sunday when they missed the game. Amorim said on Sunday before the game, I've left them out, but they both trained this morning and they both trained really well. He said that. Evidence is always your path. He said on Sunday before the Man City game that Garnacho and Rashford had been left out, but they'd both trained that morning and they'd both trained really well. So I think they were both going to be back for this game. So I think he is a bit pissed off, definitely. He was asked about the interview itself, and he said, look, if this was me, probably I would speak with the manager, but let's focus on Tottenham. So, and that's about as much as you're going to get. He basically says about the interview, if it was me, I would speak to the manager. I wouldn't be doing an interview. And I think that's is the... why have we got some Villa fan in here? I like Villa, mate. I don't know why you're coming in calling me names like that, but you can jog off and find your own fan channel, dickhead. Anyway, I want to talk about... I want you to beat Man City on Saturday, knob. Anyway, sorry, I just saw this message that was just incredible from this twat. Anyway, they're gone. So let me get back on track. So basically, being asked about the interview, he's saying, if it was me, I'd speak to the manager, but let's focus on Tottenham. I think this is the core of the problem here. I mean, many people have sort of predicted it and solved it, but he's done that interview without telling the club. It's arrogant, it's selfish, and it's not, if we're being completely honest, it's not the way that he and his team have behaved. I mean, I don't like to include Rashford in it, but then again, it is Rashford. So I don't think it... I think, look, I'll sit here and honestly say, I'm not actually convinced Rashford is behind a lot of this. He's got a media team behind him. I think one of the people, I can't remember the name of the person, she's a female. I think she was heavily involved in Beckham years ago. Like, she's a very experienced media person, PR person. And he has that team around him. So if he's quite a reserved individual, or, not the brightest tool in the box, or, happy to be led by his agency, then a lot of these things might not be his idea. I mean, do you think Marcus Rashford, when he was going to his school on Tuesday, said, let's get Henry Winter up so I can tell him I want to leave? I don't know. I don't know. But what you have to say is, it's brand Rashford, so it damages him. He might not have the idea to do that, but the people around him do. And I think we've seen this for a very long time. We've mentioned before when Solskjaer said on a weekend that Rashford needed to focus more on his football. And then the next press conference, before a question gets asked, he's apologising to Rashford because the pressure's been put on by Ollie, by the club, because Rashford's team have put pressure on the club. That's the way this football club used to be. We used to have these situations whereby we would have players who have more power. So that's changing. And, as it says on the thumbnail, I'm the boss. Amorim is the boss. We're seeing a changing of the guard. And no longer can players take the piss. And if you think it's a good idea to go and do an interview on a Tuesday after you were dropped at the weekend talking about wanting to leave and not tell the manager about it, there's going to be consequences. There are going to be consequences. I mean, imagine you run a business and you're having a bit of an issue with somebody, and then you're working on Wednesday and you get a message from someone saying, have you seen this? And they're doing an interview saying, yeah, probably time for a fresh challenge. It's like you'd expect to get that conversation first, wouldn't you? Trey Warren says, Rashford goes on a spiel about professionalism and then does the least professional thing by not letting the club know. What a prat. Well, you know what, Trey? You make a good point. In that interview, I was quite impressed with how I want it to be amicable. I want to be professional. You'll never get me causing the club problems. You've literally done an interview without telling the club. It's hypocritical. If we call it out, it is. He talks about not being professional. He talks about being professional. He talks about loving the club. He talks about 100% being a United fan. And you've clearly pissed off the United manager in the club by doing an interview you didn't tell them about. So how is it's a contradiction, isn't it? Hope you get your roof sorted out, mate, says Ben. On Roofgate last night, by the way, it was pouring into Seb's room the week before Christmas. And I managed to do a bit of a quick fix on it, so it didn't end up being as bad, but it was a bit stressful last night. So there's a section in the plasterboard where it got quite wet, but put a hole in it, allowed the water to pour into a bucket. So basically, a lot of damage was prevented. Just got to go and do a few things with that today. I'll tell you what, though, I think it's going round a little bit, but take care. Last night, I had a glass of red wine on the stream. Stomach cramps last night were horrific. Really bad night's sleep. I don't feel like I'm going to be sick. Both ends are fine. Nothing's coming in or out. That's just a rule I live by. But the point, definitely in. But horrific stomach cramps, tiredness, fatigue, and stomach cramps. But don't feel like I'm going to be sick. And I'm like, I just feel dreadful. Apparently, there's a lot of it going around. So there we go. Beautiful information, says James. Yeah, there we go. Would you rest Ahmad and save him for Sunday, says Methane Man. I'm interested to see what the team's going to be tonight. And that leads nicely onto what Amorim had to say about Garnacho, because basically he said that, asked about reaction from Garnacho to being left out of the Man City game, he said really good. He trained really well. He seems a little bit upset with me, and that's perfect. I was really, really happy because I would do the same. He's ready for the game. Honesty, integrity, glows up Garnacho, but also puts a warning out there. Truth will set you free. Truth will earn you respect. Do you feel negativity towards Garnacho based upon this statement? He's reacted really well. He's trained really well. He's upset with me, but I'm happy about that. And I was happy because I would do the same. So basically, you've got a young player that is really pissed off that he missed the game at the weekend, but has reacted. And everybody you manage is different. Somebody need an arm around the shoulder. Some people need a kick up the arse. Garnacho's had a kick up the arse and he's reacted to it. Amorim's actually quite happy that he's pissed off with him because he's trying to prove a point. Garnacho's trying to prove a point. He's probably not hugging Amorim or anything like that. He's probably like, fuck you, I'll prove you. But Amorim's like, I don't care about that. Because ultimately, I just want him to play well. I don't care if he loves me or hates me. If he proves me wrong, then that's absolutely fine. And that honesty from the manager is great because look, we're not following politics. We're not following a court case. We're following a football club. We are entitled, we are allowed to have information. And we don't always get it. And we haven't always had it. And football is entertainment. And this is entertaining. This makes you feel closer to the club when you have a relationship with the manager. So I like the fact that he's saying, yeah, Garnacho's been brilliant this week, but he's probably I think he's pissed off with me, but that's good because I'd be the same. So I like that. That's the reaction you want. Why have we not had that reaction from others? I don't know. This is the first time I feel ruthlessness from the manager since the Fergie days. I'm excited for the future, but it will take time, says United Nick. I got asked this the other day by somebody, actually. They said, I watch the United Stand every day, amazing community, so big up to you lot. And they said, you know what, there are sort of sound bites from the United Stand that you sort of take away for months and years. The graveyard shift, McFred, But he said ruthlessness and aggression are the two things that you've been saying for years. Like, you've got to be ruthless in getting rid of people and how you treat people. You've got to be aggressive on how you go and get people and solutions into the club. And he said to me, do you not feel now that they are being ruthless in aggression, that, you know, you've got nothing else to say? And I'm like, well, there's always something to say, but I lived, and many of you lived, under Sir Alex Ferguson. I grew up with Sir Alex Ferguson as Manchester United manager. He's like a father figure. And he spoke to us like Amorim speaks to us. And he was ruthless and he was aggressive. And I bloody loved every minute of it. So if we've got a manager who's going to be ruthless and aggressive, it's not like I'm going to sit down and go, everything's fine. You know, this is you get the ruthlessness and the aggression. You don't get the Premier League title. These are foundation points. There are other foundation points. Then you try and win a title. You try and go toe to toe with teams. So. Look, I really hope we're going to continue down this path, because it's not actually, it's so bloody obvious. It's so obvious that we need to do this. And if I was Sir Jim Radcliffe or I was Ineos and I was looking at what's going on at Man United at the moment, I'd be very happy. I'd be very happy with going to Man City and being the better team. I'd be very happy with the way Amorim's dealing with the press. I'd be very happy with the fact that we're sending a message through Rashford that nobody behaves like this. And you've got to remember as well, it feels like it's very Rashford orientated, and in many ways, Rashford is the sacrificial lamb, and he is the unfortunate one, because although it's all about Rashford, it's not. It's not. It's about standards. It's about, maybe Garnacho looks at this and goes, I can't do this in the future. You know, maybe Bruno looks at it and goes, I can't do this in the future. It's not really about Rashford. It's about a scapegoat. In many ways, it's about a player that we are going to basically treat like this because they deserve to be treated like this, but also a warning to everybody else that this won't be upset, this won't happen anymore, which could be invigorating for Manchester United. So Jim should pay out Marcus's contract, says Enjoy Writing. Reminders of Ronaldo's interview, just not as bad, says Mexican. Thank you very much. English players are drama queens, says Tilak. They're overrated. That's the problem. English players do get overrated. Our press do that. Can't believe your roof was the one leaking the lineups all the time, says Mazrao. Sorry to hear that. Love you. Cheers, pal. Akil says, thanks for the super chat, Akil. He says, gotta say this, Rashford's IQ on and off the pitch is the lowest I've found of any player. He says he won't make things worse. I wonder what worse means to him, says Akil. And apparently we've got a typo in the title, which I just need to change as well. It does say Garnacho. It should say Garnacho. There we go. That's changed. Thank you very much. Who asked that? Who's that? Kick your ass. 31 YouTube. Thank you very much. River Manu says, we don't need to make this about Rashford and Amorim. The club leaked against Rashford since last summer. They did it again now. It's ridiculous to not expect a reaction, says River Manu. Of course it's about... I don't know what you're talking about there, mate. I feel like you're wandering into conspiracy. The club. Ooh, flat earth, whatever. Of course it's about Amorim and Rashford. They're the two big players. You've got Usyk Fury on Saturday night. We've got Rashford and Amorim at Man United. Of course it's a power play. Call it for what it is. We've all got our opinion, but it's not necessarily going to have any impact. People have been saying to sell Rashford for years. He's still here. This is Amorim against Rashford. This is a power play. Ten Hag, Rashford always won. Ollie, Rashford always won. Amorim, Rashford, who's going to win? It's a power play. It's about who's the boss. It's about the boss saying, I'm going to do these things. Look at how stunned you all were on Sunday when Garnacho and Rashford were dropped for the Manchester derby. We've never seen anything like that before. I've seen David Beckham get dropped by Sir Alex before, but I don't remember him dropping two superstars in a Manchester derby before. That was pretty unprecedented, and I think that was a statement. Patrick, thank you very much. He says, make a big impact. Thank you. Appreciate that. Right, let me move on because there are other bits I wanted to talk about here from Amorim. Just one more thing, because he was asked so many questions about Rashford. He said, what's the position with Rashford? Nothing's changed. We believe in him. He's a player of Man United, so there's no change. He's asked if he was upset about being left out against Man City. He said he was sick in the first training, but he trained really well on the day of the game. I don't know what that means. Does that mean he missed the Man City game because he was sick? thought he was sick on Monday. I don't know. Look, it matters not. The bottom line is he's done an interview, and I don't think Amorim's very happy with it, is he? He did speak about team leaks as well. And he said, what's he going to do about team leaks? He says, nothing. Nowadays, all the coaches know about things because I explain a lot about the teams, the way we play, I want to play, the positioning, etc. But I say that because I understand that the coaches have that information just from seeing one-time Man United play. So I'm not worried about that, and also I can't control that. So I will do the same things. I prepare the same for games because for me, it's more important for my players to go to the games with a clear idea of what and how to do it than to try to hide something to protect the leaking of the start 11. That's not my focus. I'm not really worried about that. He can't control it, is the answer. I mean, look, let's be honest here. Amorim's not always telling you the truth. Rangnick wasn't always telling you the truth. You've got to play a straight bat sometimes. And there is no manager in the Premier League that's happy when their full team gets put out 24 hours before. Because you might have different tactics, but, you know, there are certain things that you don't really want it being leaked out, but you can't control it anyway. And at the end of the day, Kyle Walker could message Mason Mount because they're former England colleagues and say who's playing today, and Mason Mount could tell him. Now, I'm not saying Mason Mount's the leak, but what I'm saying is just because it's publicly leaked doesn't mean it's not privately leaked anyway. A lot of these players are mates. Who's playing tomorrow? Bam, bam, bam. Pep. You know. So we do overreact a little bit. The problem with leaking the team is trust. That's all it is. When you leak the team, you're betraying the trust of your colleagues. That's all it is. Everybody knows the teams get leaked. Everybody knows rival clubs can find out the team, even if it's not public. But if you're doing it, you're just a bit of a snake. That's all it is. Ruben Amorim on Mason Mount's injury. He said, look, I think this is very interesting as well. He said, Mason's really sad. In the dressing room, he was really, really sad, so we know we need to help him. When the player is in this moment with a lot of injuries, with this schedule, we have to maintain the load and we have to travel, and with travelling, you cannot train. It's hard for them. We will try to find a better way to recover these kind of guys like Mount and Luke Shaw, because after a few weeks and a few months, they will be ready to cope with a lot of things. Look, really positive from Amorim there about Mason Mount. I'm just going to chuck an opinion here. You're not going to get Luke Shaw and Mason Mount playing consistently well. They're broken, mate. You can't say that because there is no value in them. There's probably no value in them anyway. You're never going to do it. You're never going to say they're broken, I don't know what to do with them, but I think they're broke. I definitely think they're broke. I'm not saying that they can't come back and play for 2 months or 3 months, but they're never going to do what Bruno does. They're never going to do what Dalot does. They're never going to do what even Erasmus does, and Erasmus picks up injuries every now and again, or Garnacho's never injured. So that's what you need. We take certain players for granted, and we actually criticise the way they play, but they're always available. With Mount and Luke Shaw, their biggest weakness is availability, and I just don't see them ever being available, and therefore I don't see them being part of our future. Of course, Amorim's only been here for a month. He's got to try absolutely everything. I think in both players, we've got players that I wish were fit because they'd probably be in the first team. Mount maybe not, but I still think he probably would. Luke Shaw certainly would. So we've got really talented players here, and it's not nice to say what I'm about to say, but they are broken, and if you could remove them, you'd bin them because they're not available enough. And obviously a human element always kicks in and people go, but the point is, are we here to support Luke Shaw or Mason Mount or any other player, or are we here to support Manchester United? And when you've seen the riches of winning the Premier League and the Champions League and you know what it takes to do that, I've got no time for charity on players that can't be part of that journey. So I don't have any sympathy. I don't have any hope around them. If they shock us and Luke Shaw comes back and plays for 2 years in a row, we're going to be a good team. But it's not going to happen. I mean, in the case of Luke Shaw, from the start of last season, he's barely played. It's now 18 months, he's barely played. For Mason Mount, 18 months, barely played. A year and a half. I mean, Malacia was out for a year and a half, but he's back playing. He's not had a recurrence of anything. Mason Mount and Luke Shaw are continuing. I mean, I think somebody said to me, Mason Mount's been injured 4 times this season already. I said, 4? They said, yeah. He came back pre-season, got injured, came back, got injured again, came back, got injured again, and has just come back and got injured again. I said, it can't be 4. And I think he had 5 last year. So he's probably had about 9 separate injuries in 18 months. I mean, that's incredible for a 25-year-old. But I forget the name of the person in the chat. Apparently, he has an underlying injury that could have been a career ender that is always going to be a problem. My question is, why the fuck did we buy him? You're telling me we bought him with no problems and then they suddenly started. He's always been injured. So he must have had a problem when we bought him. So you've got to look at the medical, I think. Yeah, so there we go. But look, Amorim, I don't have an issue with. He's always been very positive about Shaw and Mount, and he has to be positive about them because they are both touching £500,000 a week and they are both good players. And if you could get them fit, they would be great. But I just don't see a way back. The match tonight could be a cracker, says Enjoy Writing. I'm really looking forward to the game tonight. Really looking forward to it. Patience shown for sure. Mount incredible. Wonder why, says Vinny Red 1. Why hasn't Man United started disciplinary... Raja says, why hasn't Man United started disciplinary proceedings? This feels inconsistent. Glazonomics and player power fear constraining us in the rebuild under Sir Jim. Says Roger. Well, we've had disciplinary, haven't we? They were dropped. Patrick says, if Rashford goes in January, surely we get someone in. Mate, I saw an article yesterday about somebody saying 5 replacements for Marcus Rashford, and I just thought, oh my God, way not to read the room. We don't need a Rashford replacement. And the replacement for Rashford cannot be coming in January. First of all, he might not go in January. If he goes in January, we've got plenty of options to get us through to the end of the season. And also, a replacement for Rashford is not Nico Williams. We don't need a left winger because we don't actually use a left winger. I would rather just, if we move Rashford on, I would rather we just take our moments and have a look about what it is that we need. I think Rashford and Garnacho have had tension since day one and something happened. Amorim kept saying engaging with teammates. Difference is Rashford now just wants to do a Sancho because he's given up, says Sambo. Amorim's honesty doesn't allow for rumours to grow, says Patrick Lynch. Very good. Thank you very much for that, Patrick. And River Mano says, the club has leaked against Rashford since the summer. Rashford said, OK, I will leave. It's not Rashford versus Amorim. It's the club being badly run again. Mate, this is the second time, and it's the second time I'm going to tell you you're wrong. Who from the club is leaking against Rashford? You're a conspiracy theorist. I don't think anybody watching this show can take you seriously because you don't want it to be about Rashford and Amorim because you like them both, so you want to blame the club. It's not the club being badly run again. The club last week apparently was briefing against Rashford. Listen to what Amorim has had to say about Rashford over the last few weeks. I can help him, but he's got to want it. That was about 2 weeks ago. Drops him for the Man City game. Rashford says, I want to leave. Amorim says, I'm not happy about that. This is not the club. This is a new manager coming in and not liking his star players' efforts and ability. And they're going head to head. That's what's happening here. Don't try and deflect it because you like both. You can like both and realise that they are at loggerheads. They might resolve it. And that might be the best thing for you. But this is not about who at the club is doing this then. So Amorim sat there going, leave Rashford alone. And Rashford's there going, yeah, leave me alone. And someone at the club is going, shut up, both of you. I'm in charge here. We're leaking against Rashford because I'm tired of him. I mean, it's just not happening. It's not happening at all. The manager isn't happy. And that's what's going on. It's as simple as that. Sorry about the roof, mate, says World Padlock. Thank you very much. Do we have a budget in January? I'd rest Ahmad tonight, says Akul. I do think that the game tonight actually is a really interesting one in the sense that Spurs will be up for it because they always are against us. And I think that what we have to look at is the game on Sunday will be difficult. Bournemouth have had a whole week off, so there may well be a need to rotate, but I don't know how you rotate. I mean, look, Garnacho may well start tonight, which allows, but Mount's injured. Rashford's not there. You've got Xerxes, Anthony. Will they play? Will Rasmus play? I think he'll go strong and try and change things. But look at what happened last week against Pilsen. We sort of rotated. Rashford was dreadful. Xerxes wasn't great, and we had to bring the big players on. So he might do it the other way around today. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Just Paul Scholes talking about the Rashford situation. I meant to bring this in. He said, "I hate seeing local lads leave, especially when there is still time. I remember Danny Welbeck was just cast aside, but the thing with Marcus is he was so good 2 years ago. He had that season where he scored 30 goals and just never managed to get to that level again, and that's why he gets the stick. He showed his standards, and now for the last 18 months or 2 years, he's been nowhere near it." Went on to say there's something not right. Whether that is the support system around him, I don't know. Definitely not right. Asked about whether he'd be concerned about him performing elsewhere if he left. He said, "You can't be worried about him going to another club and starting to produce. There is every chance that could happen, but he's not doing it for Manchester United now. Simple as." And I think that's you know what? I don't think ex-players always get it right. But I agree with that point. I think that, you know, maybe I wasn't overly happy about the Sancho scenario to Chelsea, but look at McTominay at Napoli. I mean, does it really matter? Like, do we want these people to go and fail, or do we want to go on our own path? Rashford's given up. This isn't a fight, it's a transition, says Vinny Red. And Patrick McManus says, "To be fair, getting rid of the drama that comes with Rashford is a big enough replacement. I'd rather be a player short if it means the squad's happy," says Patrick. Yeah, well, look, I think we've said this before, and it's a very, very good point. Look, regardless of which side you sit on or how you think this has played out, let's put it like this. Manchester United beat Manchester City last week on Sunday. And ever since then, all we've spoken about is a player that didn't play on Sunday and won't play tonight. All the headlines have been about a player that's actually not playing tonight or on Sunday. There's been no conversation about anything else. And I think that that's sad, but it's also a warning, because it shows you that something is fundamentally wrong at Manchester United, because we're a circus. We are a circus. And really, this week should have been spent talking about how good that performance was. Where does Bruno fit in? Who should be playing as the three centre-backs? Who should be playing as the wide players? How far is that team off competing for the top four? All these conversations would have been really, really useful. Instead, it hasn't. And Blank Frank says that's the British mainstream media summed up. Well, it is, but the British media wouldn't be able to do this if they didn't have the fuel for the fire. And that interview obviously caused a lot on Tuesday. My point is, it's not the week that we've had. The point is the frequency with which this happens. I mentioned a couple of days ago that a few years ago, around this time of year, we were playing a very important game in the Champions League. I believe it was Wolfsburg away. The night before the game, Paul Pogba, through Mino Raiola, put out a very damning interview. And that was just incredible, because it's like, this is the night before a big game and you're just showing total disrespect. But I think, again, in that interview, it mentioned how much Paul Pogba loves Man United. And you go, you love Man United so much that you've put out an individualistic PR piece slagging bits of the club off. And I think that is pretty much happened again this week. And United just need to stop all this. There are players at that football club who just don't do interviews unless it's through the club. They're focused on their football. And it was Leipzig. Thank you very much, Clovis. So I think that whatever the future is, we need to remove this noise. And the question is, would this noise ever stop if we retained someone like Rashford? And I don't think it would. I think it would continue. And Amorim might look at that and go, look, I don't know that we can be successful when every time I do something like drop a player like this, it's a week of news that's just got nothing to do with what I'm trying to build. Gabriel says, how do you feel with Sancho playing in a number 10 for us, and can we recall him? I think it would suit us. I mean, Gabriel, I would like to see Sancho return, like I would like to see chickenpox again. I had chickenpox when I was 15 and nearly went into hospital. I never want it again, and I never want Sancho back at Man United again. And the simple reason is, look at what we've just been talking about. You don't go back. You don't go back. You bring Sancho back, he's going to miss a game because he'll be dropped or naturally dropped, rotated, whatever. Oh, has there been a fallout? You just don't go anywhere near that. You don't go anywhere near that. You move on. And hopefully Sancho doesn't want to go anywhere near it as well. We can't bring him back anyway, Gabriel, because as long as Chelsea finish in the top half, I mean, they might even bloody win the league at this rate, they have to buy him for £25 million, so he doesn't come back. Jamie Simmons, thank you very much for your super chat there. Really appreciate it. A few more comments coming in from Amorim. He was asked about the Spurs game and whether it would be an entertaining game. He says, sometimes, I hope so, but sometimes an entertaining game for the fans is not an entertaining game for the coaches. So what I expect is a strong team for our side and to win the game. He says, I like everything about Tottenham and Ange Postecoglou. They have a lot of pace. They play forward, so we'll try to play in the same way in a different system, but in the same way. So I expect a good game. I'm looking forward to the game tonight. Look, whatever you say about Spurs, and I know they're Spursy, they do play a good brand of football. An open brand of football. I think it'd be a good game tonight. I'm looking forward to it. He said that on the league so far, this is from MUTV, by the way. This is not the press conference. So can I just applaud MUTV for asking questions about Spurs? He was asked about the Premier League. He says, look, the league is really, really tough, and it's strange because you have a lot of teams winning and losing all the time every weekend. Very competitive. Welcome to the Premier League. And he said, he was asked about a question about Manuel Ugarte. He said, I know him really well, and he's a very good player. So he needs to continue to be consistent, and we will try to do that. So, look, Ugarte, all I can say is, well done if you were a Man United fan who backed Ugarte, because I couldn't believe some of the pile-on we got at the start from so-called hipsters and creators. Just disgusting, really. Ruben Amorim on facing Tottenham. Our focus is to play in the same way as Man City, to try to control the ball with a different team with a lot of pace. So the idea is that to continue that. So there you go. I think you're going to get rotation. You're not going to get the Man City team. He said the way we play also was good, but we have a lot to improve on. We need to play in the future so much better, but we'll have time to do that. But it was a good win. And he said on the Man City win, it's important, especially in this kind of moment. Excuse me. Not a great sleep last night. But we need to focus on the next game and the next game, and that is the most important thing. And he was asked this as well. Has he asked if he has engaged with Man United fans following the Man City win? He says, I didn't have the chance, but I felt it at the stadium. The way, even the sound of the second goal was really, really good. And I saw the image with the players and the supporters. I just want to tell that it's just 3 points. I think that when you look at the situation there, when he says it's just 3 points, I think that just primarily comes down to the fact that there will still be storms ahead, you know, and I think that we will have some bad results. I said it after Everton, and I'll say it again now. Like we will have some bad results. Of course we will. There's no way that that we won't. Maybe it'll be tonight. Maybe it'll be Bournemouth. Maybe we'll win both, but we will have bad results. I mean, we're not out of the woods yet. I think patience is thriving through the fan base at the moment. And that's a very, very good thing. But I don't think we're out of the woods yet. We've got some interesting games, haven't we? I was just trying to find them here. I've got it here. So, I mean, that Man City win takes a lot of pressure off us. You know, even I thought we'd lose that game. But thankfully we didn't. But let's have a look at Man United's fixtures. So we've obviously got Spurs tonight. Then we've got Bournemouth on Sunday at 2 o'clock. Then we've got Boxing Day, 5:30. We go to Wolves. New manager bounce, potentially. Then on the Monday, we play Newcastle, who are not a bad side as well. So next 3 Premier League games, Bournemouth at home, Wolves away, Newcastle at home. I mean, I'd love 9 points, but I'd be stunned if we did it because I don't think we're that team yet. And then we go to Anfield at the start of January. So it's an interesting next 4 games for United. And I think all all Amorim's doing is saying that we're not there yet, and we're not there yet. And I don't think the majority of our fan base will react badly to a terrible result. I think that there's still a hell of a lot of work to do. And the way I look at it is this: regardless of whether Rashford's in the team or not, he's not the only problematic player at Manchester United. There are plenty of other players at Man United where the jury is still out. And an absolute fact, we can't win the league with these players. So we need to bring other players in. Absolutely. So, of course, there's going to be bad results. And Amorim's sort of dropping the hint as well. He can't believe how many... listen to what he said. Again, there's always a deeper meaning. He reminds me of Ranić a lot. What did he say about how hard the league is? He said it's incredible. It's really, really tough. Teams are beating each other every weekend. So that's sort of a prediction, isn't it? That, look, we might beat Man City this weekend and then lose to Bournemouth at home on Sunday. Obviously, we don't want that to happen. He doesn't want that to happen. But I just think that we've got to be realistic that, of course, we want to win every single game, but I don't think we're good enough to win every single game at the moment. It's still a couple of weeks away, but I think that 2 weeks on Sunday, isn't it? Liverpool, that's going to be tough. That's going to be really tough. Shah says, why do people think Bournemouth is easy? It's not. They're very good. Exactly. Would you replace Rashford with Lookman? Says Sammy. Yeah. Look, if you just want to chuck random players that I'd replace Rashford with, there's going to be quite a lot because I think it's time to part ways. But yeah. Can we ignore Rashford, says Akil? I know it's news, but also a waste of energy. Can we instead talk about positives from Ipswich to City game, says Akil? Well, look, I think that's the great thing about having the game tonight, isn't it? Is that we will be able to move on quite quickly. But then again, Akil, as much as I agree with you, the big story tomorrow will be, did Rashford train? There'll be a press conference with Amorim tonight. Did he train? Will he be in the team on Sunday? If he's not in the team on Sunday. So it won't stop. All that sort of stuff is not going to stop. But that's just the way it is. It's the way it is. I want to focus on tonight. I'm looking forward to tonight. And look, also very important, I think Rashford would have been in the squad if he hadn't done the interview. That's just my opinion. But if he had been in the squad, would he have started? If he hadn't started, the cameras would have been on the bench all the time. So this again, to me, is why Rashford needs to go, for his own good and for the club's good and for Amorim's good, is that it's like when Ronaldo was here under Ten Hag. If Ronaldo's not on the pitch, the cameras are on Ronaldo. And if Rashford wasn't on the pitch tonight, the cameras are on Rashford. So it's never going to stop. The circus is never going to stop. We're 10 subscribers away from 993, by the way, on the road to 2 million. So make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and get involved with the United Stand. You absolute legends. Absolutely fantastic, as always. I'm just having a quick skirt around to see if there is any other news coming in. Score predictions for tonight. Ask me that at past. Is it an 8 o'clock kickoff tonight? I think it is. Let me have a quick look. 8 o'clock, yeah. So ask me at 7:30 when I'm on the watch along. If this was a league game, I'd happily give you a prediction. I'd say a score draw. But I don't know how Spurs are lining up, and I don't know how Manchester United are lining up. So it's difficult for me to sort of predict. There will be goals. I said that in the preview. I think there'll be over 4 goals in this game. So 3-1, 3-2, whatever. Jamie Johnson, thank you very much for joining the Members Club. You're a legend. And Salah Muhammad as well. Get your badge in. Thank you very much for that. Tima says, I've just woke up, as always, starting the morning with the live stream. I hope Seb's room will be all right. Wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. Thank you very much, Tima. Yeah, I think we've got it sorted, thankfully. There was a point last night where I thought, I need a whole bloody new ceiling, but we seem to have limited it a little bit. So... We should start Binder, says Joel, and give Anana a rest. Trouble with goalkeepers is you don't ever need to give them a rest. We had that scenario, didn't we, when we had Dean Henderson and Romero, where we would rotate De Gea out because we wanted to give Henderson and Romero time. But you don't actually need to rotate your goalkeeper out. Like they don't get fatigue. in the same way an outfield player does. So, yeah. Kev says, it'll be curious to see if the team is leaked today. I think it'll be leaked a few hours before. I think there'll be 1 or 2 players that you know about. But, yeah, it'd be interesting to see when that comes out. Do you think we'll buy a player like Lookman in the window, January? No. No, I don't think so. Look, in the case of, it might be that the significant thing we do in January is removing play. Look, if Rashford was to go in January, that's going to take up most of your January. That's a big deal to do. So I don't know. You know, I think with United, we seem to be lurching from one big story to another at the moment. Amorim's not been here that long. The international break was only, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and that was all about Amorim coming in. Since then, we've had Dan Ashworth, our director of football, sacked, and then we've had Garnacho and Rashford dropped, and now we've had Rashford saying he wants to leave. It's felt like a lot longer than 4 weeks, and we are repeating sort of what happened with Ten Hag, where it's drama after drama after drama after drama. But we probably do need all these dramas to calm things down. So I don't know that we're going to go into January and start doing big deals. But you never do know. We might do. But I think with regards to where we're at, it's been a very hectic few weeks. And that's not even looking at some of the performances and results on the pitch. But I hope we can win tonight. And I hope we can win on Sunday. I think if we can win both those games, it would be some momentum. And I sort of forgot this myself. We've beaten Man City before, and then we've been shit in the next game. I really want to see tonight a bit of momentum. Doesn't mean we have to win, but I want to see some momentum from Man City, because we've seen those results many times where we beat somebody that we don't expect, and then we revert back to being inconsistent. I really want to see us kick on tonight and show some consistency. Right, thanks everyone for watching. I'm exhausted. I need to have a rest, especially ahead of the game tonight. I don't know what virus I've got now. But thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Match day today, lots to get involved in. And take care. I'll speak to you all in a bit.